This is the next community and development update number 18 of the 12th of October. It's been quite a while since we've been on air, but we're back, and today I want to inform everybody about a few things that are going on with NXT. Normally, Evil Dave Pierce, would be on here with me, but he's ill, he's lying in bed. I send him away. So I am just going to go through a few things that are going on in NXT for the people who aren't in the loop or who don't read all the forums anymore, because it's become very, very busy. First thing that I want to tell is that in mid-October, and it is almost mid-October, a new version of the client will come out. It's an experimental version. It's 1.3.0e, so an experimental version. And in this version there will be one big change. The database structure of the client software will change, which means, according to the devs, no more rescans. And because there are no more rescans, the client will start up a lot faster. You will no longer miss a forge, and this will be very welcome news to a lot of people, you can finally use your Raspberry Pis again for running NXT. Another thing for which the 1.3.0 update is very important is for the next update, 1.4.0. In that there will certainly be the monetary system, so the possibility to create coins on top of NXT. And I have also heard that from Kushti, one of our core developers, that the voting system will be implemented, and probably two-phase transactions. So this update that we're getting now, 1.3.0, is, like Jean-Luc already said, a cleanup update, but it's a major reworking of the system, and after that new features will be implemented. One of the things that 1.3.0 is very important in is that it also will allow us to change transaction fees. This is kind of a hot topic, has always been a hot topic.
This is the next community and development update number 18 of the 12th of October. It's been quite a while since we...
And that's nice. So it will also be possible to lower the fees, higher the fees, whatever we want to do with them, but that particular feature, that particular change will be possible after this update. We have no idea if it's going to happen, especially probably not at current price, but at least it's possible. So look out to the next update of 1.4.0 for new features. Then connected with this, we're going to do something else. We've decided to start stress testing the system. There have been some companies asking for this. I've had a few companies asking me, so okay, what kind of load can NXT take? To do this, it is needed to stress test the system, and we're working on a way to do it now. Once 1.3.0 will be implemented, there will be what is colloquially called Project Shitstorm, and this will mean that on the testnet, first on the testnet, there will be a big stress test of the NXT software. From this stress test, the conclusions will be drawn, and after that there will also be a mainnet test. So there will be a huge test, and one of the things that it's supposed to do is to see what the system actually can take. and what happens at those points in time. So if anyone wants to participate in this, they can. There is a thread in the general part of the forum where you can read what we're planning at the moment. You can join in. Probably we'll make it a nice weekend and see what Next can do. So that's Project Shitstorm. Keep an eye on it. A lot of things have been happening. So many things have been happening that it's almost impossible to keep track of it all. There are so many projects at the moment running. Some projects good, some projects less good, but from my point of view, we're really seeing that Next is getting much more features and much more development. Most of these things, and this is sometimes frustrating for people, are in development. So this means that a lot of these things aren't marketable yet, or aren't well, we can't really go out and say, okay, this is cool, we have it and it works perfectly, because it doesn't. A lot of the things that are mostly finished at this point probably would be considered beta versions. We all know about the multi-gateway. Multi-gateway has had a lot of development, but also a lot of changes since James has basically moved over to SuperNet. There's a new group of developers in charge of multi-gateway at the moment. Servers are being set up, but this means that we have had delays in what people thought would be possible already. We all know this. I know the developers know this. They're working really hard. On the marketing side, which is where the group that I'm a part of, we're also working very hard on this already. We have all the press kits already ready, but we are not going to send them out until things are flawless, or at least near flawless, and at least usable by end users. Otherwise, we'll just be getting bad reviews, bad user experience, and that can only hurt us. There are several other things that are happening. I know, for instance, that Melodious, which is a music platform, has also been in development for 2 months. Press kits are also ready for this already, but we can't do anything until the site is live. I've seen it. It's lovely. The developers are proud of what they've been doing, but they aren't going to release it until it's really good enough for a first start. So there are a few other projects that I want to highlight at this moment. One of the projects that is going to go live tomorrow, or even today, but depending on your time zone, is Next Free Market. Next Free Market is a trading platform using the Digital Goods Store, and you can find it at nextfreemarkets.com. It will be released on October the 12th, which is today. It's a simpler way to use the marketplace that we have. A lot of our people are working via the client, I know, but we have to consider that most end users will not use the client. They will use the software in the client, but they will need a front end that's much easier to use. And Next Free Market is one of these initiatives that makes that possible. If you go to Next Free Market, you will see it's nicely skinned. It has lots of explanations. It does mention Next a lot, but not in a way that it is confusing to people. And I'm very curious, very interested in what it will do. It's available in English, in French, in Chinese, and in Russian. So we have a very international outlook in this. and we'll see what to do. If you want to see it, have a look over at nextfreemarket.com and see what you can do there. Another one, another project that is at the moment at least nearing the first completion is NXT. NXT is a mobile messaging platform. It's been in development since the start of NXT in January, I think. They also released one of the first assets that were traded on the asset exchange. It's NXT Coin. NXT Coin has been traded on multiple exchanges already, so it's been a first comer and a pioneer for that too. Has seen very, very high rates already, has dropped down over the last weeks, but that's most probably because there were some delays in the launch. I've just read that NXT has said they will be launching on the Google Play Store on the 28th, sorry, glasses, the 28th of October. 28th of October, 16 days from now, we will be seeing NXT in the Google Play Store. And what can NXT do? NXT has been from the start conceived as well, let's say a safe version of WhatsApp. Within NXT, your messages can never be read. They will be completely encrypted and they will be private. This is one of the things that we already know that a lot of large platforms like WhatsApp don't do. We also know that within Skype, if you use that to send messages, it's the same problem. These things can be read, and a lot of people feel uncomfortable with that. NXT is made to counter this and to solve this problem. Another thing that will be possible in NXT is to erase your messages. So you will be able to completely remove the messages that you've sent, so nobody will be able to see them anymore. NXT will be available on iOS and on the Google Play Store, so Android and iOS machines. I haven't seen, but maybe one of the developers can correct me on that in the thread for this Hangout. I haven't, I think, seen the date where it will be released on iOS, but I may be wrong. At least 28th of October, it will be available in the Google Play Store. Another thing that I would like to draw attention to, this is something we were approached on Bitcoin Talk Forum by the developer for a news app which can be used on your phone, so you can keep up to date on coin news. We already had one in the beginning in January, but it ceased to function. We now have a new one. If you look on in the Apple Store or on Google Play and you search for Coin Market app, you will be able to find an app that also shows you all the next news that is out there. So it's directly linked into several news sources, and it will give you next news. It will not only give you next news, it's called Coin Market app, so it also has Bitcoin, it has Peercoin, it has Litecoin, several other coins. But it's nice to have. I just tried it out this afternoon, and it's easy to use, and sometimes it's easier not to go on forums, but just read it on your phone. So have a look on Google Play or Apple Store for Coin Market app. And thanks to the guys for reaching out to us, because if we don't know that these applications are out there, sometimes we miss them. So very glad for the opportunity. That's basically what I have at this moment for the There's one thing. This was one that I personally was really interested in. It's I don't know if people know BOINC. BOINC is a distributed computer program which allows you to use your idle processor power to and lend it out or give it to worthy causes, or at least to projects that need it. Sometimes researchers will set up their own server parks to do their own calculations, but since BOINC has been around, and I think a lot of people know programs like SETI at Home, and looking for extraterrestrial life, and this is a lot of number crunching, and this was one of the first projects where they made use in a decentralized way of computers that are out there and who donate their processor time. NextGrid, also you can also find this one on our forums. NextGrid is a Next-based program to do this. It's been growing very fast over the last few days, been updating a lot. You can find it on the Next project's NextGrid. It's led by Yin, and they're already almost ready with their website, as far as I can see. And it's a very nice project. It means that by using Next, it's possible to also fund your campaigns, to submit both your projects that need processing power and crowdfunding. You can combine this in one. It's a monetized system, so shareholders will receive part of the proceeds. But it's a very ambitious project, and it ties in nicely with at least to me, with what the decentralized movement is all about. It's making available resources that previously were much harder to reach, and especially the combination between funding and processing power is something that I find really interesting. So if you want to invest, you can. There's an asset out there that's described well on the project board, and if you want to follow it, just have a look at the project board and see where they are right now. So that's NextGrid. Then we have some news that had a bit of a panic for a few people. Don't know if anybody has noticed this, and don't get in a complete panic when this is the first time you hear of it. There are some rumors, and they have been confirmed by quite a lot of trustworthy people, that the SEC is going to move in on Bitcoin companies that on the regulatory level, and they're going to crack down on them. FinCEN, SEC, Justice Department. This was something that caused quite a lot of panic on the counterparty chat. We don't know anything yet. We haven't seen it yet. If it happens, the question was, will this affect the asset exchange? Well, if it affects counterparty, it most probably will also affect the asset exchange, but we don't know to what extent. The things that I've heard from people who are a bit nearer to the fire is that the first crackdowns would be especially on Bitcoin-based companies, because they are largest. USA-based, of course. So this is also something, but we don't know yet. So it's again, my personal opinion, well, there is no other, but my opinion is that let's wait and see. We were aware that things like this could happen, of course. We're doing something with the asset exchange that directly can lead to these kinds of things. has to do with anti-money laundering, know your customer, all these kind of compliance things. So we will have to deal with them at some point in the future, but as long as we don't know what the SEC is actually targeting, we cannot really say what's happening. What I've heard from someone in the field, again, this is his opinion, is that especially if you're not a real company, so if you're not a registered company, the SEC won't go after you, or at least will have a much more difficult time, because the SEC is about registered companies. Again, we don't know. They're probably testing the water to see what they can do, and as long as we don't know, I think we should wait and see what happens on this. It's not completely unexpected that these things happen, of course. This week there was a very large thing that happened, and that was, of course, Overstock's message that they were going to build software on top of Counterparty. And yes, this is big. Next has also not that very actively, but has been involved in the process of choosing. We all know that there was a wiki published by Overstock to see what the different features of the 2.0 networks were. Counterparty was in there, BitShares was in there, Mastercoin was in there, Next was in there. There were some less than nice things happening on the wiki, as is usual within the crypto space, we might say. In the end, Overstock chose to go with Counterparty. Some people have said that it's not really that big a surprise, because Counterparty is Bitcoin based. Overstock already accepts Bitcoin, so it would seem a logical route to take for Overstock. As far as I can see in the articles that I've seen, is there were some rumors that it would be a very centralized system called Medici, based on the Renaissance family, the Medici. If I read the articles, I don't know which way it will go, and maybe they don't know either yet. They're building it now and trying to create a legal framework in which they can work both in the compliance section and in the crypto area. And that is a difficult thing. We see that with the asset exchange too. So I think this was a question that was asked on the forum. I think it's a good thing. These things need to be explored, even if it doesn't work, or if it's really not the thing we are looking for from a crypto perspective, which would mean centralization and rules that basically make it more difficult to do what we want to do, which is the freedom of goods, the availability of goods, and all these things. On the other hand, things that go wrong are also very educational. I don't see Patrick Byrne directly as someone who will try to go that way. From what I've seen, he is trying to go a decentralized way, and at least we will be able to learn quite a lot from what he does, also things that we don't want to do. There's also been some concern about Next not being active enough in this. In some ways, I could say yes, we haven't been overly active in this, mainly because from the start it was very clear that and we had this information earlier, they were very interested, majorly interested in Counterparty already from the start of the wiki. On the other hand, it's also a question of, do you have the right people, and do you have the people who can do this? And in this case, I should say, well, a few people have been working on it, but it didn't pay off the way we thought. And I think it is because we don't really have the people for this yet. Could be wrong, could be completely wrong, but this is the inside view that I got from this. So want to say that about it at least. We have been talking to them with two different groups. Two different people have talked to Overstock. We have had some very good contacts in there, but in the end they went with Counterparty. So that is that part. On the marketing part, still want to go into that a bit. There was a question on the forums about what's happening with the next organization and what is the roadmap and mission from them. I can't really comment on that because I am myself not part of the next organization. We haven't heard a lot from them. What I've been contacted by one of the people in next organization, at least telling, okay, we should collaborate more between the different groups that we have, and I agree on that. But my opinion on the other hand is what we see in the community is that really formalized structures don't tend to work. What does happen if we try to formalize structures is that we end up in just talking about the organization instead of what the organization is supposed to do. I'm not the kind of person who likes to work that way. I rather work on an ad hoc manner, so that means goal-based organizing. You formulate a goal, you formulate a group that's capable of doing this goal, you get funding for this group in any way, or you make sure that the group is able to fund itself, and then the group is free to do as they will, and at least as long as they reach the goal. I think that's a much healthier way within the next community. Other communities may be able to do this very differently, but for us it seems a much healthier way to do it. It's goal-oriented, it's doing instead of a lot of organizing, and it's not top-down. It's based on problem-solution thinking, which is difficult enough in itself because defining a problem is very difficult to define it well. But yes, makes the idea from the person I spoke to in the next organization that we shouldn't be afraid to work together with the other groups within NXT is certainly a good one. One of the things we've been doing, because, well, let's be honest, there are at least two groups within NXT that are trying to do things. One is called the Next Organization. One has the title, but is definitely not the Next Foundation. It's a working title. We also have it in our web domain. Should do something about that, at least according to me. But these two groups try to organize in a different way. What we are planning to do, at least, is to set up a simple legal structure so we are able to sign off on paperwork for conferences, for instance. This is one of the things that we really have seen a lot of problems with. When you go to a conference and that organization asks, okay, for who is this and who's liable, blah blah blah. We don't have anything. You need to do everything on personal title, and sometimes that's really difficult for them because they just don't understand. If we have a very simple legal structure which is only made for signing an autograph, we're done with this. Everybody could make use of this. and we'd be able to much easier to get into conferences and other things where we want to go. So this is one of the things that we, as well, let's call it next group, it's better than the foundation, I think, that we're working on right now. Evil Dave and I are working on that here in Holland, and we will make a statement about that very soon. It's very simple. We just sign and then it's done. So that's about, it's not only about marketing, but it's also about organizing within Next. I think that working on ad hoc is a lot easier than working in some kind of structure and playing CEO and CFO and whatnot. So it seems that is much more workable for us. There's one extra organization part that does work, and I am really happy with it because I got the information about the new version 1.3 from that person. That's Chuck One, who has taken it upon himself to be, let's say, project manager, or at least spokesman for the development team. We had this problem in one of our last versions where the private key, the public key was implemented, and we had a lot of problems with getting this to exchanges and getting this to third-party developers, and a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and the main point in this was the developers are too busy coding and need to be focused to do that, and we didn't have a person who could mediate between, well, the users, the third-party developers, and the developers. Because it needs a very specific skill set, you need to understand what the developers are doing, and you need to understand what the other party is doing. And Chuck One has jumped into that and has been doing a very good job for that. He's been informing people a lot about what's happening. He's been asking people about new features. For instance, there's now a thread in the general section of the forum about which form the smart contracts should take. This is come from Beyond's implementation of smart contracts. So it's not a Turing complete implementation, it's a simpler implementation, but it needs use cases, and we didn't have use cases, and it's very difficult, again, to market if you don't have use cases. So he started to inventorize the possible smart contracts, so he can take that to the developers and they can work on it. Very happy that, and I hope that it will take away a lot of confusion and a lot of miscommunication, because that happens a lot. So thank you, Chuck One, for that one. There is one last thing that I want to mention. It's more like a news service today than really a talking hangout. I'm sorry for that, but because Evil Dave is not here, it's a bit more improvised than we wanted. There's one thing that I do want to say, partly from a personal perspective and partly because I think it needs to be mentioned. And also to see what we can do with this. We have had, and I think everybody is aware of this, the last week, quite a bit of problems on Bitcoin Talk with a member, a previous Next developer who, well, basically after the publication of an article within Cointelegraph, started attacking people who were questioning his motives. Let's say that's that vague. One of the people attacked was me. This is the personal side. There were at least two other forum members were, well, attacked. Is a small word. Personal details were posted, pictures were posted, sexual preference was used as an argument about a cryptocurrency, which is completely weird. Facts were distorted, parents were called, employers were called, and I can say that from the side of the person who is receiving this and who is having the organizations he does his normal daytime job for drag through the mud and being connected with money laundering, crimes, theft, extortion. That is hard to deal with. On the other hand, and I think this is important, on the internet there are a lot of people who use anonymity and who are smart enough to either cover their tracks or to keep very clearly within the rules of forums or defamation or libel, or who are smart enough to derail conversations. I've seen this happen this week a lot. I've seen a lot of pain and frustration. I've seen people really having personal problems with this. And the only way I think what we can do is at least keep reporting these things, especially if things are way over the line and are causing damage in psychological or in a real way. Well, psychological is also real, but also in a physical way, be it jobs, be it money, anything like that. But also to keep a cool head in knowing that it's Bitcoin Talk, it's a forum, and it's a very small part of the world. Most people really don't know it. The other hand is also these people thrive on attention. You will see, if you read posts by this person, that every time you react, he counter-reacts. He waits. If there is no reaction, it dies down. One of the best things to do with bullies, these kinds of bullies, is keep reporting it to the proper people who can actually do something about it, and for the rest, ignore. And to the bully himself, I would like to say, please, please, please stop, because this is not in any way in relation to what happened. And you're actually causing a lot of damage, and at a certain point it will get back to you. You can be certain of this. That's all I have for today. We have gone to a bi-weekly format of for these hangouts. So the next one will be on the 26th of October, which is in 2 weeks. Again at 1900 GMT, so same time as today. What we want to do is, well, I'd like to have some more guests on here. So if you want to be on these hangouts and you want to promote your project, you want to talk about a specific topic that matters to you, please let us know. You can find me on the forum under the name Damelon. I'm one of the administrators. You can also reach out to Evil Dave. Evil Dave also on the forums. Send him a PM or put it in the thread. And then we need to make choices. Normally these hangouts should last about an hour. If you're a guest, you probably have a slot of about 10 minutes. That's then we have room for 3 guests and other topics. I think that would be a very nice balance. They shouldn't be longer than an hour, because nobody listens more than an hour to these things. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. So if you want to be on here, please let us know. We'll be probably be contacting people from projects ourselves too, if you see that your project is doing well. So we hope that you will be able to come on here, and we hope to see you next time on the 26th of October. Thank you, be well, and see you on the 26th.